I want to talk about bipedalism. Why humans and certain animals are bipedal. Uh, this is related to evolutionary biology and also a bit of anatomy. Evolutionary biology is one of my odd interests. And in fact, I feel that it is insanely underrated. I think the first reason is it has almost no practical immediate application. It doesn't make you money. It doesn't. Okay, for example, it's unlike physics and engineering. You learn physics and engineering, you might be able to make your cars 10 times faster. You are able to fly using airplane. You are able to use computer to do some crazy thing. But evolutionary biology has no, doesn't have that kind of quick application. And I think another reason people are generally not interested in evolutionary biology is because it is very hard. Humans are actually biological machines, and things around us are actually stimuli, like input data being fed into machines like us, and then we think, we react. So it is very hard for us as biological machines to study ourselves. It is much easier to look at things around you and tinker and modify them and invent things using things around us. It is how humans learn how to build buildings, how to make weave clothes, and how to study planets, things like that. So that's why I think that's a reason why physics or even mathematics make huge progress and lots of people are interested in it. It is much more obvious, less recursive to study physics than to study evolutionary biology because it is very abstract to study yourself. So I want to talk about bipedalism. Bipedalism means animals who walk using only two limbs. They have this bipedal locomotion. And if you notice, if you observe around, there aren't many animals doing that. Most animals are on four limbs. The exception is humans, birds, chickens, gorilla, apes, and this is not coincidental. This is not accidental because if you study the evolutionary biology tree, the evolution of animals, most of all these bipedal animals, including us, have a common ancestor. It branches out into lots of animals. For example, we call ourselves Homo sapiens, and you have Homo erectus, Homo neanderthal, you have gorilla, apes. So all these animals evolved from a common ancestor, and I believe the common ancestor has something to do with bipedal dinosaurs. In paleontology, they have found fossils of bipedal dinosaurs. In fact, if you often look at movies about dinosaurs, for example Jurassic Park, lots of dinosaurs are bipedal. So this group of bipedal animals evolved the ability to walk and move using two limbs. And maybe you ask, so what is so special about that? I notice it is very special when I realize that actually in nature, in Mother Nature, there's almost no structure that can stand itself by two legs. So what do I mean? For example, give me a second, yeah. So for example, if we look at this particular chair, of course, obviously it is four-legged. And if you try to use only two legs and try to actually make it stable, it's impossible because the moment you release your hands, it will either fall like this or it will lean against the other side and return to the four-leg position. So no structure. In fact, the most extreme type is just like a tripod. It is able to stand with three legs. Okay. So what I want to say is, give me a second, yeah, to put back the phone. what I want to say is, in Mother Nature, there's almost nothing that could stand on two legs itself, except bipedal animals. So how are we able to balance when we stand? I think for most people, including me, we take it for granted. For example, let's say I just stand like that. And I easily balance myself. It is a no-brainer. We have 7 billion people on Earth. Even the stupidest human could do this without any doubt, without any struggle. But one thing we can obviously see is we observe the toddlers, the babies. We all know the earliest babies, they start by crawling on the floor, and then they learn how to stand, and then they learn how to walk. The crucial moment is to observe how a baby progress from crawling to actually standing. If you observe a baby, the first time he or she learns how to stand, it is kind of unstable. They will keep falling down and try again. So that struggle proves that being able to stand with two legs is not as direct as you see. Of course, it is very direct and no-brainer for adults like us, but it is even for the babies, it is slightly hard. They have to try quite a number of times to really master it. And needless to say, if you try to look at dogs and cats, how do they stand on two legs? They often struggle, and they could only last for like 1 second, and then they fall back on all 4 limbs. So I think I noticed we take it for granted when we actually stand. When we actually stand. If you try to stand and notice, actually every single second, a small muscle in your knee, thigh, and in your legs are actually doing the work. It is trying to balance. Of course, it is too subtle. You don't really feel it because most of us have been walking for so many years, standing for so many years. It becomes a subconscious ability, a muscle memory. You don't really consciously exercise the muscle, but it's something very hard. Your muscles within your leg are actually trying to balance. Unlike just now the chair, the stool, it has no muscle to balance. That's why it always falls back on 4 legs, or it crumbles. So your leg muscle is doing a lot of hard work to balance it. And of course, for the babies, toddlers, they have not exercised that muscle before. That's why they needed some training before eventually mastering it, and it becomes a no-brainer skill. So that is something quite amazing. I think that perhaps explains why Earth probably has few millions of species animals, ranging from reptiles, mammals, birds, and fish. That explains why so little animals, I think probably less than 10% or even 5% of animals and species are able to walk bipedal, because it requires the growth of certain kind of muscle in your legs to do the hard balancing work. This feature is not to be taken for granted. Many animals don't have it, and today we feel that it's very easy because our ancestors, and when I'm talking about ancestors, I mean few billion years ago, the early ancestors did the hard work of evolving this feature. So I feel that it's kind of amazing, bipedalism, and it has a lot of advantage. Some people said that this bipedalism enabled humans to become the king of all animals, because every single animal, most animals have 4 extremities, except fish, of course. Birds only have wings, but most animals like reptiles and mammals, they have 4 extremity, and we only use 2 for walking and movement. Then we have 2 other extremity, the hands, to do something else. That might explain why we become smarter. We are able to do more things and activities and evolve as a civilization. So I think it's a marvelous, phenomenal event in the grand scheme of evolutionary biology. Of course, I think the entire conversation I'm talking about here, the entire thing I'm talking about here for the last 10 minutes presupposes one fact, that evolutionary biology is true. I definitely am aware that there are a lot of people, particularly those who believe in creationism, the religion fundamentalists, no matter you are Muslim or Christians. Some of them believe creationism. They believe that, God and Homo sapiens, humans and other animals are completely distinctive. God engineered humans as a separate species, and dogs, reptiles, they are inferior. I think that is completely nonsense, because there's just overwhelming evidence. Charles Darwin has already proven that centuries ago, that we are merely one of the product of evolution. We as Homo sapiens, in fact, rumors said that we actually, as Homo sapien, we actually competed and even killed a lot of Homo neanderthal, Homo erectus. We killed other species that are almost the same as us, and then Homo sapiens flourish and become such a great species dominating the entire earth. So all the Christian and Muslim fundamentalists, they are so mistaken, because the evidence is just overwhelming that we are merely one of the product of evolution. We have shared a common ancestors with apes, gorillas. So what are the evidence? Some evidence are, for example, our palm reflex. Babies are especially obvious. When you put something on their hand, they will immediately react with knee-jerk reaction to grasp that particular thing. This is something that apes and gorillas shared with us. This feature was important for them to grab the tree branches, and then some people have the ability to move their ears, and this feature is being shared with a lot of animals like cats, a lot of lions, because they need to detect their predators from far. And also what else? Some a very tiny portion of humans, babies, actually have tailbones. Of course, we don't have tails, but if you really look at the bone structure within that person, he has tailbones, a very, very tiny tailbone. So that proves that we actually share almost the same structure as other monkeys, apes, and gorillas. So Charles Darwin has already proven that. So what is the implication of knowing all these things? I think that obviously there's no immediate application, but I believe one thing you could learn is that we actually don't have that much of free will. We don't control the universe. This is one of the most important epiphany you should realize. Knowing that thing doesn't mean that you have to be nihilistic. I think after knowing this fact, we are the product of evolution to become bipedal. Then after we recognize this fact, we could start thinking, eliminating all the things we can't control, and start focusing what are the tiny things we could do to advance civilization. Of course, I still have a lot of things to talk about evolution and biology, but I don't have time. So I will stop here and see you tomorrow. Goodbye.